Hey everybody, Jared Marlowe with the Blue and Gray Education Society here. And if you've seen any of our videos in the past 6 months or so, then you know who this guy right here is. It's Aaron Siever from Aaron Civil War Travels. Aaron, how are things up in the Shenandoah Valley?
They're pretty good. It's a little hot, so I had to shave, and cool off a little bit. Found that reveals my face, so I may grow it back. Uh, but yeah, things are going good up here. A lot of movement, a lot of work going on, a lot of improvements, and just getting things going to make it a even more battlefield visitor experience.
And before we get into Aaron's talk today, because Aaron has a special one for us today, Aaron works for the Shenandoah Valley Battlefields Foundation, and right now,
Mhm.
and we're recording this in the almost summer of 2024, but they have a big fundraising drive going on right now. So, Aaron, could you talk to us more about the
Uh,
foundation and what's going on?
Yeah, we and you always donations always help, but specifically right now, we are just $15,000 away from completing a purchase of a property. It was the federal flank at one time here in New Market is now called Artillery Park, and just some things that have happened there. There was a house that has been torn down, and we restored that landscape to its battlefield look, placing artillery there, hence the name Artillery Park. And that artillery is depicting the Confederate artillery. And if you were to go down the road and look to your left at the rice farm, you would see artillery there. That is depicting the Union artillery. So we were depicting that action that is happening in Newmarket during 1864 of the Battle of May 15th. Very historic area right there. It's also right next to the area where supposedly General John Breckinridge was in the middle of the road, and there was a post that was struck by a shell, and splinters went all over him, but he wasn't killed or anything like that. The shell did not explode. And it's also on the River Road line, which is extremely famous in that battle, as both Union and Confederate troops will occupy that road. It is one of the main thoroughfares through New Market during that time. So just a huge historic area right there. So that 15,000 is yes a lot of money, but we definitely feel that we can raise that. And of course, it takes people that are passionate and interested in the Civil War, and to help us continue to tell the story of the Battle of Newmarket and other various battles throughout the Shenandoah Valley.
And as far as battlefield groups go, I mean, you'll be hard pressed to find one better than the Shenandoah Valley Battlefields
Yeah,
Foundation.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'll toot our horn a little bit. We really are a unique group, and just everybody has a passion uh, for the Civil War as a whole. The whole thing, the civilians, the slaves, the Union, the Confederate, all of it. We try to wrap it all in because it's such an interesting story, and really one of the not just scariest, but one of the pivotal moments of American history that really makes us what we are today.
Right. And if you want to give to the cause or become a member, visit shenandoahatwar.org. I
Dot
think that's
org. Yeah.
.org. So visit that, help donate, and help preserve history for future generations. And we're going to really switch gears here. Um,
Yeah.
our previous talks have been in and around the Shenandoah Valley, and today we're going to go west. And when we say west, we mean far west.
Far
Um,
west. Yes.
if if you were, and I actually looked this up, if you go to Google and type in Gettysburg of the West, two battles come up.
Yep.
Our friend Jack from the Battlefields and Bourbons podcast, well, he says that the correct Gettysburg is the Battle of Glorieta Pass. Uh,
Yes.
but the true one, and the one that according to Wikipedia says is the Gettysburg of the West, is the Battle of Westport.
Yes.
There,
Now, like you said, I mean, Jack and Gary Edelman too has called it the Gettysburg of the West, and it has been called the Gettysburg of the West as far as Glorieta Pass. But again, when you Google it, Westport is comes up as that.
so we are going to today talk about the biggest battle west of the Mississippi, and
Yes.
that's out of character for us because we're Shenandoah Valley people here in Virginia. But um, I guess a good starting point for the Battle of Westport would be Sterling Price's raids. Is that right?
Yeah, Sterling Price's raid. It's from August to December of 1864, and this area. This is going to be Westport. It's there in Missouri. It's near Kansas City. It's actually in the Missouri side of Kansas City. But this is an area with Kansas and Missouri on that border that has already seen a ton of activity even before the official American Civil War. There's been fighting in these two states since 1854, and some famous people have come out of there. One that pretty much everybody knows about would be John Brown. He is going to be part of that bleeding Kansas part of our history, where it's anti-slavery people versus people who are pro-slavery. And there's going to be a lot of border wars going on from 1854 all the way up through the Civil War. Just when we get into the Civil War, it's more actual armies fighting, but there's still a lot of bushwhacking and things like that happening on the Kansas-Missouri border even up to that time. But Sterling Price, yeah, he's an older guy, had been the governor of Missouri up till I think 1857 is what we found. So he's there during a little bit of the time with John Brown being around. Certainly there during Bleeding Kansas. And Missouri is one of these states that is very split. It is not strictly Confederate. It is not strictly Union. It is a border state. And it's basically, it will provide for both armies. There will be some battles there, but it will remain neutral for most of the Civil War. To them, they're neutral the whole time. However, they have quite a few battles that happen in their state. We can look at, for instance, the second large battle of the Civil War happens in Missouri. You got Wilson's Creek in 1861, just a couple months after Bull Run. And then you've got the counterpart to Sterling Price is going to be a number of people, but mainly Samuel Curtis. He is going to be in charge of the Army of the Border. And Curtis is, I call him the savior of Missouri, simply because he's fought the Battle of Pea Ridge in Arkansas, which was right there at the border, another border battle. Not necessarily Kansas, Missouri, but it's right there, just over the line in Arkansas. He's fought that battle, and he's actually fought Sterling Price. Now, that army was under Earl Van Doren at the time, but Price was part of that battle. After that battle, other than some bushwhacking things, Missouri stays pretty quiet, as far as the armies go. And Curtis is there in control the whole time. And it's not until this raid in August of 1864, when it starts, that he's going to have to. Maybe he gets a little complacent. I'm not 100% sure on that, but he's gonna have to start moving again. And Price, this is going to be one of the last Confederate raids into the North, and there's a lot happening from August to December of 1864. We have the Shenandoah Valley. We have the burning of the Shenandoah Valley. Some major battles: Third Winchester, Fisher's Hill, Cedar Creek. As a matter of fact, on the same day that Cedar Creek is happening, October 19th, 1864, in St. Albans, Vermont, you're going to have a Confederate raid. So that is the northernmost raid that happens by a small company of Confederate officers who will flee into Canada. So tons of different things happening. You've also got Sherman pressing against Atlanta, and will eventually take Atlanta. Grant has got Lee surrounded down by Petersburg. So lots of stuff happening. And Missouri just kind of on the outside looking in until Price decides he is going to make this raid, which is a cavalry raid. The biggest thing to note here is what his his goal is. His original goal for this raid is St. Louis, and then he wants to get over to Leavenworth and get in there, hit the federal um, banks there and things like that. But originally, he wants to go to St. Louis, and the reason is to reestablish a Confederate government in Missouri. At the beginning of the war, they had two governments, and the Confederates were chased out. If they can do that, that is going to take that border state, make it a Confederate state, and if they can get their government on board, then they join the Confederacy. Will that stop the election of Abraham Lincoln with all the other stuff going on? Probably not, but it's going to put a big dent in the armor that the federal army or federal government has at this point, because this is a state that's secure for the most part. And if the Confederacy can get that border state to move to the Confederate cause, there's a lot to say. I mean, it could have affected it majorly. I mean, if I was a voting person, I'd be like, well, wait a minute. This place that you told me was, and now it's joined them. What are we doing here? Can you actually win this war? So, but yeah, Price will start out with an army of about 12,000. Now, there's some that say maybe 15,000, but he's going to have around between 12 and 15. Of those troops, 4,000 are going to be unarmed. So not sure what we're doing there, but I told when we did this battle on the Battlefields and Bourbon podcast, I told Jet they were the skirmishers. It's just like, go guys, see what you can do. But yeah, he's going to start this raid on really get going on September 19th. His 12,000 cavalry will move into. They'll move out of Pocahontas, which is just over the Arkansas border, right on the border of Arkansas and Missouri. And they'll move by the 27th of September. They are fighting. They're going to start fighting Union forces. As Union forces are aware that they've made it into Missouri, and are starting to scramble to try to get forces in place to protect St. Louis and other places within the state. But they are going to actually fight a battle at Pilot Knob, also known as Fort Davidson. Brigadier General Thomas Ewing Jr. Is in command of about 1,200 federal volunteer infantry that are there. And a lot of times, especially when you're this far back behind the main lines, these guys probably haven't seen a lot of action. So, they're in this fort. But here's the thing. Price is actually unable to capture the fort. They put up a pretty good fight. Ewing and his men will actually evacuate the fort during the night and able to escape on up towards St. Louis, which will allow another guy that most people have heard of, especially in the West, Major General William S. Rosecrans or Rosecrans. I don't know how you say it exactly. I like Rosecrans or Rosecrans. That could just be my Valley accent. But this gives time for him to fortify St. Louis with reinforcements. And, as Price is coming with his cavalry, that little battle delayed him. And he's looking and going, okay, I can't attack there. They're fortified. I'm going to move on to the west now. And another note of why this raid's happening is now we can really get into the comparisons of Gettysburg. This raid is happening for supplies, ammunition, recruits. What were we doing in 1863 with the Confederate Army going into Pennsylvania, trying to get out of war-ravaged Virginia for a little while? Yeah, there's the stuff about, maybe foreign recognition and things like that, but they're relieving Virginia and that war-torn state from all the need that they have there and going into some place like Pennsylvania where it's very fertile. To quote the movie Gettysburg, they got flapjacks in small mountains up there. So, the Price is doing the same thing a year later, and his idea is to gather those supplies, get them back, and sustain his army more. He can get these arms for these 4,000 men who don't have them. But he has to turn west once he gets to St. Louis. Rosecrans at that time is going to order reinforcements to another town called Jefferson City. Really not that far. I'm not exactly sure of the mileage, but it's not super far from St. Louis. Especially in today's time, it's probably a suburb of St. Louis by now, as cities have gotten bigger. But Price again will decide not to really attempt to attack that. He's going to skirmish a little bit and not do an all-out assault there, and he's going to kind of go around and move his way. He's still going west. He's going to move his way to a place called Boonville. Now, this is where we see a whole different, this part that he's been in, St. Louis and all that, pretty federal. They've been occupied by the Union Army. It's a very northern sympathizing part of the state. Now he's in Boonville, and he's going to go there and stay there for several days. We're now in October. October 10th is when he will arrive, and he'll be there for several days because when the Confederates come in, they get a hero's welcome. It's like they're liberating the state of Missouri. And because of that, Price says, we'll hang out for a little while. The Union Army is still going to be going and strengthening themselves. Curtis is moving in and things like that. But because of this hero's welcome, he feels comfortable. He's also going to detach some forces up to Glasgow and down by Sedalia during this time on October 15th. And their goal is to get supplies, horses, guns, recruits if they can. And he's going to charge that to two different generals. The first one is going to be General John B. Clark. He's supposed to go to Glasgow and bring back the weapons and supplies from a federal storehouse that's there. And then the other is going to be Brigadier General M. Jeff Thompson. He's supposed to go to Sedalia and bring back weapons, horses, and supplies from the town. Now, Thompson is known as the Swamp Fox of the Confederacy. He's been fighting in Missouri this whole time. He is not a Confederate general, so to speak. He is a Missouri militia general. He is not really risen fully to the rank, but he's recognized as a Confederate general. And he will be in control of the Confederate Iron Brigade on top of it. The Battle of Westport is really going to be the first big battle they fight in. Not as famous as the Iron Brigade that's here in the East that came from the West, but still, it's kind of neat that they have that. Also, Swamp Fox is more of a Revolutionary War name, but he gets it because he was fighting, and I did not know this. There are swamps and stuff down in Missouri, and I had no clue. But he's fighting in these swamps and things, and he's using gunboats on top of it early in the war against Union troops there in Missouri. So kind of interesting that's happening. So pretty famous guy there as far as that's concerned. After that, Price is going to continue his raid. He's going to head toward Lexington, Missouri, and he's going to encounter federal cavalry from the Army of the Border. Now we're seeing Samuel Curtis's guys start to come in. They are going to be under the command of Major General James G. Blunt, not the guy that did the song "You're Beautiful," not that James Blunt. This is a precursor to that. But he is. And I made this joke on the podcast. He's unable to really stop Price's forces, but he is able to blunt him long enough to keep him from getting to the next. Yeah, it's a dad joke. But Blunt's outnumbered, and he will withdraw from Lexington. But another note is we talked about just a little bit, Price is up there in age. Curtis they're roughly about the same age. They're older guys. Curtis realizes he is not as spry as he once was. And, not that he isn't a good general, because he's a very good general, but he knows he's older. He is going to basically let James Blunt run these battles. He's trust him, and he allows him to do it. And it's a smart thing that he does, because Blunt does a very good job. So that's on the 19th. We're now approaching Westport. And just east of Independence, Missouri, is a place called the Little Blue River. Now, there's also another one called the Big Blue River. Much like if you go over to Highland County, Virginia, it's let's see, you got Bull Run or Bull Pasture, Calf Pasture. It's just they stick with the name and they just stick with it. So we'll just add to it. But this is where we can go with another comparison for Gettysburg. Really, the Battle of Westport is a 3-day battle, October 21st through October 23rd. It's going to start there on the Little Blue River, and the federal forces there are under the command of Colonel Thomas Moonlight, which I thought, this has got to be like a Native American guy. That is an awesome name. Come to find out, he's from Scotland. Still a very cool name. But Scotland, I had no clue. Did not know that was a Scottish name, but we found out it is, and he sounds like he lived a pretty interesting life. But he's going to be in command of those forces on the Little Blue River, and this is another holding action for the most part, as federal forces are trying to come online as much as they can to stop Price from doing what he wants to do. Again, he's trying to make it to Leavenworth at this point. And he's got all this supplies with him now from Glasgow and Sedalia. So he's, bogged down with this wagon train as well. The battle will start to really kick up as Federals will withdraw from the Little Blue River and set up a nice defensive area at the Big Blue River. So on the 22nd, you'll have the Battle of the Big Blue. Now, that battle will continue all the way through October 23rd, the last day of battle. And you also have the Battle of Brush Creek that will occur on the 23rd. But on this 22nd action, really, if we look back, that first day, that's a Confederate victory. They pushed them, got them off this height, but they went to a bigger height. We could compare that to another battle, an Eastern battle. On the first day, Union troops at Gettysburg are pushed, but they go to a better height. Same thing's going to happen here. The Big Blue is a more formidable position, and on that second day, Confederates will push them hard and will take a lot of territory, but they're not able to break the line. They're not able to seal off the flanks. Really sounding like another battle in the East. They're not able to do that. And this is where we get our big comparisons. The 23rd, the Battle of the Big Blue will continue, and it's a very heavy fight there. But again, you also have the Battle of Brush Creek. Now, at Brush Creek, there's going to be a guy named Alfred Pleasanton. He's from the East. He is showing up, and Price is going to start to realize some things as his soldiers, who are vastly outnumbered now, are getting put in quite a vice at this point. He's got them all around him. He's got this cumbersome wagon train. His chances of getting Leavenworth are dwindling by the minute. Yet he's still going to fight there. And he's got some great generals. He's got a guy named Marmaduke. He's got a guy named Shelby. And when Pleasanton arrives, he's going to be facing Marmaduke. Marmaduke, these guys don't get the look that the Eastern generals do. But out here in the West, you've got a lot of really good generals, both Union and Confederate, and some really cool names. But a lot of guys that really do a lot that just gets overlooked because they're not in the Eastern theater. But Marmaduke, he is going to hold up Curtis for quite a while. Or I'm sorry, Pleasanton. Pleasanton will actually attack him at 7:30 in the morning, and it won't be till about 9 a.m. that Pleasanton starts to gain a little bit. It will not actually, Pleasanton will not be able to break through Marmaduke and force him back to 11 a.m. So they've been fighting for a while. This action down here, where Curtis, goodness gracious, Curtis is an overall command. Where Pleasanton is really has picked up, and Marmaduke's holding his own. He's trying to keep everybody away. This is more toward Byron's Ford, actually, which is along Brush Creek. But he's holding his own, and that's a big thing, because if he doesn't, then Pleasanton's simply going to go and sack Price's army very easily. So at 11 a.m., Pleasanton will make a breakthrough. In the meantime, we've got a lot of other things going on. We've got the stuff going on at Byron Ford. Curtis is going to have his men along Brush Creek, just on the other side. You're going to have Moonlight. He's going to be there. And we'll have Blunt in overall command there. Well, Curtis, but Blunt will be running the show. Facing him is going to be one of those guys we talked about, Joe Shelby. And Shelby is going to be just past a place called the Warnell House, which is still standing today. But that battle starts about 9:30 in the morning. So just Pleasanton and Marmaduke have been fighting for a while. And now we have Shelby and Blunt fighting on the other side, starting at 9:30. But it's really not gonna. It's going to be a stalemate for the most part, much like the second day at Gettysburg. They're beating each other back and forth. It's not, things aren't working. Now, this would be, we don't have a Pickett's charge at Westport. However, we do have a citizen, and this citizen is going to be very angry, and his last name is Toman. He's going to be very upset. And the reason he's upset is Confederate thievery. They've come and took everything. Horses, chickens, he's got nothing. So what does he do? Well, he goes and finds General Samuel Curtis on the 23rd. And he's telling him about this, and he says, well, I can show you a way through a creek bed behind the Confederate Army, or almost behind the Confederate Army. And more on their left flank. And of course, Curtis is going to jump at that opportunity. So this guy will actually, Toman will take them down this creek bed with Curtis along, and the Federals will get on the left flank of Shelby's army, or Shelby's men, and be in a wonderful position for their artillery to begin to decimate Joe Shelby and those men that are there. Pushing them out of that area, and that's at 11 a.m. By 12:30, by 12, that part of the battle's over. The Confederates have to retreat, and we're now not looking at a stand-up fight. We're now looking at a rear guard action for the Confederates, as Price has actually been told his supply wagons, get the heck out of Dodge, start moving toward Arkansas, because if this goes bad, we're going to lose all this. And it becomes just basically even more of a fruitless thing, because what'd you go into Missouri for? At least you've got the supplies. At least you can come out with that. But even with that, one thing we can't compare this to with Gettysburg, this is only about 30,000 men that are fighting in this battle. The casualties are only roughly going to be about 1,500. So not a ton, but as far as it's the largest battle, like we said, west of the Mississippi. But Price is going to realize that he is now surrounded, like we were talking, and he's going to start making dispositions to get out of Dodge. As he's retreating, he's going to disengage from Westport, and start to move south, kind of southwest. But his army will be the fighting really doesn't stop on the 23rd, just the Battle of Westport stops. By the 25th, we have them getting caught up to by Federals. Uh, it's a trading post. I'm not going to try to say the name of the river. It's Cygnes. I don't know how to say that, so I don't want to butcher it. But the skirmishing is going to occur during the night there in a driving rainstorm. So now what's happened? We've just gotten our butts kicked at Westport. Now we're in a driving rainstorm and we're still skirmishing and we're trying to get away. The Federals will continue to press him, and with his wagon train still trying to get across Mine Creek, which is south of Westport, and will actually be the next biggest engagement of this campaign, where you'll have two Federal brigades under Lieutenant Colonel Frederick Benteen, who is going to be with General George Custer and the 7th Cavalry at Little Bighorn years later. But Benteen and Colonel John F. Phillip, they're going to attack two Confederate divisions under the command of Major Generals John Marmaduke and James Fagan. The Federal cavalry charge that happens here is actually going to capture Marmaduke and another guy named Cabell. These two guys are going to be captured. That's a big hit that Price is taking right now, because Marmaduke's a very good general. I don't know enough about the other general to really comment on his generalship, but when you lose a general, especially if you're the Confederates, no matter what general it is, that's pretty detrimental to your cause. Continuing on the 25th, the Federal pursuit will catch up to the rear guard at Charlotte's Farm on the Marmaton River. Another skirmish is going to break out, and it's going to be a draw. And this is where Price is like, they're going to catch us. So he's going to burn all non-essential wagons. So everything, if we can't take it with us, it's going up in flames. And he's going to continue the retreat. The final battle of this will actually occur at Newtonia, which is right almost on the border of Arkansas, Indian Territory, and Missouri. And this will be General Blunt again. He's going to attack the Confederate rear guard, but he will be beaten back by Joe Shelby. So it'll end with a Confederate victory. During this time, too, as Price is retreating, fighting these rear guard actions, he actually sets the prairie on fire on top of it to try to, I don't know if he's trying to do a smoke screen or what, but the cavalry can simply ride through it or ride around it. But he's going to set the prairie on fire. And one other thing to note, we're very close to Indian Territory here. In 1862 at Pea Ridge, Native Americans fought in that battle. So I believe it's the first battle they actually participate in during the Civil War. And they come all the way into Missouri or Arkansas. They will not during this time. They will remain in Indian Territory. And, I'm sure had the battle flowed into that area, they would have fought on one side or the other. But they're going to kind of remain themselves over there. They're seeing what's happening overall with the Confederacy, and they're going to stay over here and try to make relations with the federal government a little bit better. Probably not a bad move. But this raid just goes downhill. It really goes downhill as soon as it starts. With the real big dent in this raid will be at Westport. Now, I'll jump back to Glorietta Pass being called the Gettysburg of the West. My only problem with that is it is very similar to the Battle of Gettysburg. My problem is it's in 1862. Gettysburg happens in 63, and generally as historians, we don't name something that happened previously after a future event. But I understand the comparison of that. One other thing is with the Battle of Westport, the outcome is a little bit different as well. So you could go without it being. This is where you're going to have see the big difference in Gettysburg. After the Battle of Gettysburg, Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia is able to make it back into Virginia, and they will fight another 2 years. After this battle, after Price is run out of Missouri, he will continue his retreat into Arkansas, then Indian Territory, and the remnants will finally reach Lanesport, Arkansas, having traveled over 1,400 miles during the raid. They will actually end up, Lanesport, Arkansas is on the Texas border. They will actually go into Texas briefly before uh, getting to Lanesport. So they ran all the way to Texas. And at this point, they're not a fighting force. There are things say he's down to about between 3,000 and 6,000 men at this time, and who knows, maybe 4,000 of those guys were the guys that were unarmed. So his army is not a viable force anymore. It's not. We're not going to have to worry about Missouri getting invaded again. Um, some other things that come out of this, though, is some interesting. There's some interesting people in this battle. Um, in order to kind of keep an eye on Sterling Price in this raid, there's some spies. One of those guys is Wild Bill Hickok. He is, American entertainment hero of the West. You're also so you have him, um, and he is going to help notify what's going Curtis of what's going on. He's kind of posing as a Confederate, going back and forth. Of course, he's I think he's a Kentuckian possibly, or I mean, he might be a Missourian, but he is able to get in and get out and go around doing some things, and which is going to make the job for Samuel Curtis a lot easier. Um, I'm trying to think of the other one now, and I cannot think of his name. We got Wild Bill Hickok. Who's the other American entertainment hero of the West? Because they're both in this battle.
Is it Bill Cody?
Bill Cody, yeah, Bill Cody, that's him. Yeah, so yeah, these guys are involved in this battle. They're part of the militia, and that's another thing to look at here is there's a ton of militia fighting during this battle. Now, Samuel Curtis has been trying to get Kansas militia and Missouri militia, and the Kansas governor doesn't want anything to do with it because he says, "Hey, I'm we're neutral. I'm not. We're not. We'll protect our state, and that's it." But what ends up happening is once Price gets it going, the Kansas state militia is going to start pouring in and reinforcing the Federals greatly. Um, so, you also have, the militia on the Confederate side. We have a militia major general fighting there. So militia plays a major part in this battle. Not something we really see a lot this late in the war. Most of these guys are, seasoned troops, and a lot of these guys that are fighting in this, as far as on the federal side, have not seen a lot of battle. So definitely an interesting thing there. I'm trying to find. There's a couple quotes that really bring this battle into view of its. While yes, very similar to Gettysburg, the outcome of it is vastly different. Um, and we touched on it. Basically, Lee is able to fight another day. Price is not. Um, he will not be able to really do anything after this. And most of his men at this point, I believe they're kind of going to go home. The war will be over in just a few months, so they're not. Things didn't go well, and they're not going to be very very happy. Um, but there's some other incidents that happen. If I can find this, there's one particular incident that is very funny in a way, and it's a duel that happens during this battle. So the Battle of Westport, we've got these armies raging and fighting at each other, and you're going to have a duel that occurs during this, which is something you kind of see in a movie more or less. Um, if I can find the names of these guys, I'll tell you who they were. But it's one of those things you don't expect. Um, I can't imagine being so upset during a battle that I need to have a duel with someone while I'm getting shot at by other people. It just and what'll happen is these two guys will actually wound each other and not kill each other. So basically, they come out of it with nothing. It's really one of those things. Here we go. Um, let's see, is this correct? Yes. So we have Curtis Johnson of the 15th Kansas and James McGee, who is, I believe he's part of the 15th Kansas. And these guys, they are going to stop in the middle of all that chaos and have a duel with their revolvers. Again, they both hit each other. Neither one of them dies. They're just severely wounded and they get pulled from the field. I mean, if they wanted to do that, they could simply walk down and be like, shoot me, please. They would have maybe been smarter. Well, then maybe they would have died. I don't know. But it's just, this is not something that it's just unfathomable in my mind that is what's going to happen there. But another neat thing, one of those little things you can pull out of a battle, out of the Civil War that you don't expect. Again, the biggest comparisons to this in Gettysburg are the initial drive, the reason for the invasion, the 3 days of battle, and really the first and second day are very similar to the first and second day at Gettysburg. It's not really to the third day and the retreat. Well, you could even say with the retreat, the pursuit of the Union Army. After Gettysburg, we have the Battle of Westport in Maryland. I just figured that one out. Not Westport, Williamsport. Sorry, I think it's Williamsport. Um, yeah, I was looking at Westport. But both start with a W and have a port. So we have that. Very similar things happening here, where it's just not. It's just not going to be a fruitful thing. But the biggest difference is where the Confederates, after this battle, are not able to do anything else in the Kansas, Missouri, really Arkansas area. They will cease to exist. And again, Lee will be able to do what he does for the next 2 years.
And also too, when you're talking about size comparisons, I mean, this was a fairly large battle for the Western Theater. And another argument for this as opposed to Glorieta Pass is that battle had 4,000, whereas this has 30. Now, not quite the scale of Gettysburg, but 30 is a lot more than 3.
Yeah, than 3 or 4. And the biggest thing with Glorieta Pass, it's a very decisive battle there. Westport is as well, but it's the impact. I can see the impact of Glorieta Pass is very similar to the impact of Gettysburg a year later, where this one kind of takes its own path at the end.
Right.
But largest battle west of the Mississippi, which still, I mean, just floors me because you start thinking about all these big battles out in the West, Shiloh, Pea Ridge, and here we are, Westport. And it gets overlooked because of everything else that's going on. Like we were talking about, even the St. Albans raid in Vermont gets more publicity than this does. And this is a major, major victory
Right.
for the Union Army.
And the excuse me, the characters in this are just as interesting. I mean,
Oh
you,
yeah,
I mean, even you mentioned, Wabo Hickok and Buffalo Bill
Buffalo.
Cody, and
Yep.
but if you look at guys like M. Jeff Thompson, like
Yeah.
this guy had a Confederate boat named after him
Yes.
in the early part of the war, and he hadn't even turned 40 yet. Like
Yeah.
he had done all of this stuff and was worthy of
And
having a boat named after him when he was in his 30s.
yeah, and again, got the cool nickname Swamp Fox,
Right.
um, and yet is still not an actual Confederate, so to speak, general. It's just which is just crazy.
Right.
And then we have the citizen, the local farmer, George
Yeah.
Toman. There's so many battles we can. I mean, you can look at the Third Battle of Winchester. That's a citizen and a slave. That's the whole reason that battle happens.
Right.
Here we go. A citizen is now guiding, the Union Army to victory, and we tend to forget that happens quite often during the battles. Is that citizens will come up with a lot of information either before a battle or during the battle,
Mhm.
and really change an outcome of what could have happened. I mean, without that flank attack, who knows? I mean, Price, he's in a bad spot, but they're holding their own. Um, and Price splits his forces, and that's probably not the best thing he could have done at that time. He probably should have tried to hit one or at least two sections, but he's got to defend. And then when Toman comes in and gives this wonderful piece of information to Curtis, there's just not a whole lot that can be done after that.
Mhm.
I was trying to see, there was, Samuel Curtis. He's really the big difference maker is going to be Samuel Curtis during this. Not only listening to that local citizen, who he could have said, "Hey, this could be a Confederate sympathizer sending me on a wild goose chase," but not only that, but putting Blunt in basically
Right.
command and knowing that, okay, Blunt can take care of this. He's younger than I am. He can keep up with the troops. Now, when they do that flank march, Curtis is there. His as I like to say, his dander was up and he's ready to go. So it looked like fun.
And
So,
Toman would be as famous as John Burns if he had grabbed his rifle and went there and joined them.
if he grabbed that rifle, I mean, yeah. So again, there's another citizen thing, and I'm surprised it didn't throw that one together right away. But John Burns at Gettysburg, we got an old war
Right.
soldier coming out there to fight. He's a citizen, and it's crazy the comparisons of those two battles,
Mhm.
and then but the big differences too. So
Right.
definitely a cool place. I have not got to be there yet. It is on the Aaron Civil War Travels list. I just took a trip out to Ohio, so there'll be some videos coming from that and North Carolina. But this is one I definitely want to go to. The society, the Preservation Society out there has done an amazing job. It looks like they've got quite a few places that they've been able to save within the city. I think Loose Cannon Park is one of the places, but they've been able to put up signage, have artillery in place, and give you a good tour, a battlefield tour. If I can find the map is actually quite extensive. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see probably on here, but I mean, that's a lot of information just on this little map here. And we're looking at, they've probably got about 30 different things they talk about. So, really cool and impressive. They have the Warnell House, which is going to be used as a hospital afterwards. I mean, they've got quite a good amount of stuff to see out there in a place that, again, it's overlooked, and a place that has been grown up based on where it's located at. So, yeah,
All right.
definitely. you out there.
All right. Last thing I'll ask you, if folks want to read more about this battle, do you have any books that you recommend? Or
Yeah, there's one called Sterling Price's Raid. Um, I believe the last name is Louse. I forget his first name, but it's a very good book. It really goes through the whole campaign, talks about Westport, talks about all the actions up through there, and really what the outcome is and what the goal was. Very good book. Obviously, there's a Battlefields and Bourbon podcast episode on it. And then if you go back, the Chicago Civil War Roundtable has a Battle of Westport, but I think it's 1956, maybe something like that, 1966. So it's a very old talk that they have, but it's very informational. And then again, the Kansas City Historical Society has a good bit of material on that as well. But yeah, the book is I think it's it might be Loss, but it's Lauss is his last name, I do believe, and very good book. I'm was got a lot of good information out of it.
good deal. Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for spending some time with us and going out west with us. And again, his channels on Facebook and YouTube, it's Aaron Civil War Travels. So be sure
Aaron
you.
Seward. Yep.
Yep.
We're
So,
also on TikTok now.
oh, look at
Yeah,
us. TikTok. Here we
moving up,
go.
moving up in the world. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so
We'll have some new videos coming out. We're up to 97 videos. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm at I think 361, which is not bad for a little channel that's got an old ball guy on it. But yeah, we're at 361 with 97 videos. We're about to break 100 videos here shortly. So really excited about that.
yep. So go check out his channel and Facebook page and TikTok. Follow all
Yeah.
of them. Aaron, thanks so much for spending some time with us tonight, and we will have you on again here soon.
Yep. Thank you.